In the second session of the in-house training, respected principal in charge today and all my colleagues, you can see today's topic is connecting and communicating with parents, and the resource person is Mrs. Archana Sinha. Mrs. Sinha is one of the most promising teachers of our school. She is a lady with multi-talent, you see. As far as the topic is concerned, we call it in our language Abhivavak Sampark. You know, for running a public school, the three components, student, teacher, and parents, there must be a bond between the three. And that was why connecting with the parents become very essential. To throw more lights on the topic, I would simply, without delaying, invite Mrs. Sinha to come over here and tell us what is there in her store.
Very good afternoon to respected Vice Principal Sir, STNC, and all dear my colleagues. I welcome you all in this in-house training. As you all know that my today's topic is connecting and communicating with parents. This is not new to us. As we are the part of Vidya Bharati Sangathan, and being the part of Vidya Bharati Sangathan, this is the pillar of our institution. Connecting and communicating with parents, simply in our language, we know or we call it Abhivavak Sampark. As Sir has told earlier that to run a private institution, teachers, parents and students plays a vital role, and to run a school smoothly, the connection between all the three elements is very much necessary. To start my topic, first of all, I would like to tell you what are the contents which I am going to discuss in this in-house training. First of all, I will discuss what is the goal of my in-house training. Second one is introduction of the topic. Third one is objective. As we all know that we are doing something with a purpose, and I too have some purpose, and which I will discuss later on. What are the ways we can engage parents? In this session, we will came to know what are the different ways through which we can communicate with the parents and how to effectively communicate with parents. There must be some effective ways through which we can communicate to parents. Fifth one is obstacle to parent contact. There are some obstacles while contacting with the parents, we will discuss also. What are the reasons parent may get angry? As we all know that, and we had experienced it also, that whenever we go to meet or communicate with the parents, sometimes they get me angry, and we will discuss what are the reasons why they get angry. Next one is parenting style. As we all know that our fingers are not equal. Likewise, all parents of the school is not equal. They all belongs to different background and they have their different ways through which they parent their children. And I will also discuss about the triggers which should be avoided while dealing with the parents. So, coming to the topic goals of in-house training. After completion of the session, we will be able to know what is the importance of engagement of parents. We will learn different ways through which we can engage parents. We will review various strategies also through which we can conference the parents and teachers, and we will also understand the strategies for working with difficult situation. Whenever we will find any difficult situation, on that situation, what will be our strategy, how we will tackle with the situation. So, coming to the topic, communication is integral for the holistic development of children. While many emphasizes the importance of teachers communicating with the student in the classroom. As we all know that students are the basic element of any school. We communicate with our students in a classroom, but that is not enough. We should also look how we communicate with the parents or the carer of the child. Effective communication establishes a strong relationship of trust, respect, and transparency between teachers, parents, and the students. That is why in every interaction, the goal must be to strengthen this relationship for the development and well-being of a child. Generally, whenever we think through parents-teacher meeting, while showing their half-yearly or annual result only. But this is not the only part. There are so many other ways through which we can communicate with the parents. Effective communication is essential for building school-family partnership. For nurturing a child, parents are very essential, but we cannot overlook the role of a teacher. Teacher and parents both forms a school-family partnership, and in this partnership, students get more knowledge and they are shown the path through which they can achieve success in their life. It constitutes the foundation for all other forms of family involvement in education. And while communicating with the parents, we enforces parents to focus on their education also. Not to see on their physical well-being, but we all are trying to draw the attention of the parents towards their academics also. Coming to the objective, what are the objectives of communicating with the parents? As it is three-dimensional, so its benefit not only the students but also the teachers and the parents too. If we talk about what are the benefits a student gets through this connection with the parents, it helps in upgrading their grades, better student achievement, better attendance, better self-esteem. It focuses on all-round development of a student. Next one, how it benefits the teacher. It improves teacher morale. Our morale is not to teach only the students, but our morale is to see whether the child is good in academics only or in other parts too. better reputation of a school if we communicate with the parents on a regular interval, we counsel the parents or we counsel the children. In this way, we are building a strong reputation of our school. As we all know that school is known by the teachers. School single has no identity. Its identity totally depends upon the way the teacher teaches in the school, the way the teacher cares in the school. Higher rating of teachers. It also helps in upgrading the teachers' grade also. It also helps the parents. How it helps? Feeling of ownership. While we communicate with the parents, we get very different ideas from the parents that what should we do to overcome the problems of our children. As we all know that in every class there are different levels of a student, and through parents we get to know what should we do to overcome the problems of low level students also. So parents feel that I too have ownership in the school. Increasing support of school. Through communication with the parents, it increases the support of the school too. In various ways, parents also support the school. What are the ways we can engage parents? Now, I just want to know from your side, what are the different ways through which we communicate with the parents? Is it through only parents-teacher meeting or something else we do?
Inviting the parents on some special occasions, like if there is having annual sports day or annual function or any fun day, when we invite them to the prayer assembly. So these are the ways we can invite the parents and stay connected with them.
Thank you so much, sir. As the sir had told, there are various ways through which we can communicate with the parents. We can call them in different occasions. Our Vandana is very popular, and we call them in Vandana also. And in various ways we can communicate with the parents. So coming to the point, here are few ways through which at present we are communicating with the parents. First one, that is a very common thing which has been done by all schools, that is parent-teachers meeting, which is commonly known as PTM. Through parents-teacher meeting, usually schools communicate with the parents. Another one is phone call. One of the most important nowadays. Through phone calls, we used to communicate with the parents on a very short intervals. Homework diaries. This is also a way through which we communicate with the parents. It mostly happens in junior classes. The students of junior classes do not bring their subject copies, or they do not do their homework. Then through their diaries, we communicate with the parents. Write their note that your ward has not done this homework, or he is not bringing his copy. In that way, we communicate with the parents. We order the children, or we say the children that you have to keep your parents' signature, so that the parents get to know what we had written in the diary. Through notice and handouts. Usually we give handouts to the children through which we communicate, or through which we give information to parents. Another one is website of the school. Through website also we communicate, we give information to the parents. Next one is workshop for parents. Usually we organize some workshops in which we engage parents also. These workshops may be related to their medical, physical well-being or academics. Another one is communication that are focused on father as well as mother. As we all know that Matri Sammelan in our institution, where we call mothers of girl child, and there we used to give lots and lots of information which is needed at present. Last but not the least, and this is the most important, and this is according to me, this is the, because in this we have face-to-face communication. In this we get to know what is the response of the teacher. Sometimes it happens that through phone calls we do not get the response, and when we visit the home of a student, without saying or without uttering a single word, through facial expression also, we get to know a lot of things or a lot of response from the parents too. So these are the various ways through which we are communicating with the parents. In this slide, we will discuss how to effectively communicate with the parents. There must be some qualities or etiquettes which we should follow while communicating with the parents. We should be warm, be a good listener, be positive, foster a sense of trust, adhere to a problem-solving approach, communicate often. We should also communicate in the form that works for parents and guardians. Make parents feel valuable. Acknowledge involved, ask questions, and last one is don't make assumptions. These are the ways or etiquettes we should follow while communicating with the parents. One by one, I will discuss all these points in my upcoming slides. First one is be warm. This feeling that we are not apart from the parents, we are the one who also care for the children. And when we welcome or whenever we meet the parents, we should meet in such a way that they should feel that we are not apart from that. We are like the part of their family. A little friendliness goes a long way, especially when it comes to elementary school parents-teacher communication. Whether you are communicating via email, text, or in person, be warm, be welcoming, and offer encouragement. When you see parents in person, smile, shake your hand, and make eye contact. These are the etiquettes. When we follow it, we will have some positive response from the parent. We can also use the words we, us while communicating with them. These words connect with the parent's soul. Another one is be a good listener. As we all know that only teaching is not the quality of a teacher. Listening is also a quality of a teacher. And being a good listener, we have to listen to the problems of our parents and children. Listening is another critical element of communication. By listening to the parents and carers, we get invaluable information regarding the child's educational experience, their families, along with their opinion on the progress made by the child. Listening is, as we all know that listening is a very good skill through which we can get lots and lots of information while communicating with the parents. And we get to know about their family backgrounds, their academic development, and if there is any problem, we get to know about that also. Some of the fundamental rules to listening well are, here are some fundamental rules which we should follow. First one is make eye contact and occasionally nod or say yes when parents speak to you. Whenever someone is talking to us, we should focus on whatever he is saying. We should make eye contact with the parents, or sometimes we should nod our head that we are listening to you. We are understanding what you are saying. Sometimes say yes, or whenever it is necessary, say no. These are the etiquettes which we should follow. Then it may happen that angry parent may calm down so quickly. Next one is let the parent complete what they have to say. Then repeat back to them a summary of their thoughts to ensure you have understood them. First, listen to the problem of the parents. Whatever he wants to say, whatever anger he has in his mind, let all the garbage come out from his mind. And after saying each and every problem, you just say, I understood what you have told, and I will surely make some solution to the problem. Next one is check on their feelings or the emotional aspect of their words. For example, where they upset while communicating with you or may be concerned about a particular incident. It may happen that mentally or physically parents are disturbed. On that situation, we should give some emotional touch to them, that we are with you, we are not apart from you. We are with you and we will be with you in the future also. Be positive. This is the word which gives energy to us. And for instance, yesterday I was told that you have to take an in-house training. And I was very nervous that I have to go to Grizzly for invigilation, and how I will come and give in-house training. How I will be able to take in-house training. Then my SNTC encouraged me. He told me that be positive, you can do it. Yes, I can do it. And I will definitely do it. And this is the positivity which we have to do, which we have to inculcate in each and every parent, in each and every children. Then only the purpose of running a school will be fulfilled. Effective communication between parents and the teachers start with positivity. Whenever we meet a parent, we should not start our conversation with complaining about their student, his or her child. Always start the conversation with a positivity. When contacting a student's parents or guardian, start out by saying something positive about him or her, like friendliness. A little positivity goes a long way. As I told you, never start the conversation with complaining about the children. Always start with telling about the positive thing in the child. Then only the purpose of communication will be fulfilled. Otherwise, we all know that first impression is the last impression. And if first impression is that we are in a mood to complain about only the children, then the parent will feel that we are only seeing the drawbacks and we are always punishing the child only. So the first and foremost thing while starting a conversation is to say a positive thing about the child. After going a long conversation, then we can say that what is the problem with the child, whether he is naughty or academic weak. Say it later on, but first tell the positive thing which a child has. Then only the conversation will be purposeful. Foster a sense of trust. As we all know that trust is the most important thing, and if we had a trust, then we can lead a very successful life. Not only that, if we had a trust on someone, then in days in which we have many problems, on that day also it passes that someone is there who will help me. And this is the trust we have to build with the parents, that we have to communicate with the parent that we are with you. Whenever you feel any problem, you can directly come to me and say whatever you want to say. Then only the parent will feel that, yes, the teachers are with me and they are equally concerned about my child as I am. The basis of effective communication with the parents also start with trust. If he trusts us, then only he will tell each and everything which he wants to say. And if he feels that this teacher is not trustworthy, then he will not convey all the things which he had in his mind. And he will say negative about our school, our teachers in market, and this will badly impact our school. So first of all, develop trust among the parents, that whenever you have any problem, you can firstly you can directly come to me, then only this will be fruitful. It's essential for parents to trust their child's teacher. When speaking to parents, assure them that everything you discuss is confidential, and that as an elementary school teacher, you always have your student best interest at heart. And if a parent is discussing some confidential things or matter which is related to their family, and if it get disclosed, then they will not feel good while communicating with us. So first of all, we have to develop trust among them, that we will not disclose whatever he is going to speak to us. Adhere to a problem solving approach. Usually parents came to us and they have an aim in their mind that if I meet the teacher of my child, I will definitely get a solution. And this is what we have to do. Whenever we talk to the parents, we should have this thing in mind, that we have to find the solution of the parent. It's common for parents to raise concern about their children, especially when they are worried and uncertain. In such a scenario, adhere to a problem-solving approach. So, you and the parent can work together to address the particular concern. If there is some problem, then only the parent will come to us. On that situation, we have to think about this. What are the ways through which we, the teachers and the parents, togetherly take a step to overcome out of that problem. So problem-solving approach should be in our mind. Not only we should listen to the problem and we should nod our head, and after the parent visit to us, we forget whatever he has said. No, this should not be done. If we do this, then next time when the parent will come, he will get angry to us. So always have problem-solving approach in our mind. To do this, you can follow a systematic method of identifying the exact problem. When we listen to the problem of a parent, we should get focus on what exactly the problem is. Considering the best possible solution, and after listening what is the problem, we should have concern on what is the best way through which we can overcome this problem. Evaluating the risk and the benefit of implementing the situation. If a child, for example, if a child is not doing homework on a regular basis and his parent came to us that my child is not doing homework in home, you are not giving any homework, you are not keeping pressure on my child, that's why he is not doing homework at home. In that situation, we have to identify what is the problem, why the child is not doing homework in home. And if we find that the child is not having support, parental support, or it may happen that some families have some their personal issues, on that ground child is not finding suitable environment to study at home. So in that situation, if we talk about that some mentor should be provided to the child at home, so is there is any risk associated with imparting this solution? It means I just want to say that we have to go through each and every point, that whether if we are implementing this solution, it may have some drawbacks also. So while we should evaluate each and everything, that whether it is having some risk or not, and what are the benefits if we implement this situation. Next one is effectively implementing the solution and reviewing the differences the solution made. And after evaluating each and every point, when we came to a solution, and after implementing it, we should evaluate whether which we have implemented is working or not. And still that child, after giving a mentor at home, still he is not doing homework, then we have to take some another step. So I just want to say that after implementing also, reviewing should be done. That before giving mentor, he was not doing homework, and after giving mentor at home, is he doing homework or not? So, and we have to point out the differences which has been done. Next step is communicate often. We, as a part of Vidya Bharati, usually communicate with the parents twice, at least twice a year. First at the beginning of the session and at the last of the session. But in meanwhile, we oftenly communicate with the parents through phone calls, or if some problem persists, then we oftenly go to meet parents. Also make sure to communicate often. A common mistake among school teachers as well as secondary educators is simply not communicating enough or only reaching out when there's a problem. We usually do it that whenever there is a problem, we communicate with the parents. But what we should do, what should be done by us, that we should oftenly communicate within a month, within a week, so that the problem should not become large. Communicate regularly with parents, and they won't be on high alert when they hear from you. And whenever we oftenly communicate with the parents, we get to know about the students. If there exists some problem, then that will be resolved in their early stages only. And if we do not communicate oftenly, then it may happen that the problem may become bigger, which may result in very dangerous situation. In firms that work for parents and guardians, as we all know that parents belong to different backgrounds and their level of understanding is also different. In that situation, what we have to do? We have to communicate in the way the parent understands. Level of understanding of each and every parent is different. And we teacher have a right, or we can, not right, we have the duty to find out the way through which the parent easily understand whatever we want to say. One size does not fit all. As we all know this, one size is not fit for all. The tailor usually tailor the clothes according to the body measurement of his customer. Likewise, we have to tailor our communication according to the level of a parent. When it comes to parent-teacher communication, from apps, messages, boards, and email to social media, texting, and phone calls, find out what communication tool work best for parents and guardians, then stick with it. As we had earlier discussed, what are the different ways through which we can communicate with the parents. First, we have to identify which method suits best to that parent. And if we find that this parent is very much comfortable with communicating with phone call, then have a communication with phone only. And if we find that if we are communicating with messages or emails, if he is understanding, then it is okay that we can communicate with them through this media also. But we have to find what is the best way according to the level of the understanding of the teachers, parents. And when we feel that this is the okay, then stick to it and start communicating with the parents in that medium also, only. Make parents feel valuable. If we do not give value to others, they will also not give value to us also. So, it's our prime duty to make the parents and students feel valuable. Don't make them feel that they are only a number to a school. Just not a single number to a school, and make them feel that they are as equally important as other parents are. Great parent-teacher communication, especially in elementary school, starts with making parents feel valuable. All parents and guardians have something worthwhile to offer your classroom, whether it's helping at an event or speaking to students about their occupation. Encourage them to participate and share their strengths. We should give equal importance to each and every parent, irrespective of their status, their caste, their religion. We should not bind the teachers, parents on the basis of their status. Each and every parents are as much as valuable. And we, the teachers, and our constitution has also given right to equality. And we should also give equal rights to each and every student and their parents too. Acknowledge involvement. What does it mean? Involvement means engaging parents' decisions in managing school. Parents are not required to participate in their child's education, whether it's a parent or a guardian taking the time out of his or her day to meet with you or participating in school events. It's important for school teachers to acknowledge contribution and express thanks. Whenever we organize some meetings, parents-teacher meeting, or workshops or seminars, we should acknowledge the parents that you are invited and be the part of the occasion. This will give value to them also. whenever we have to change our rules and regulation, we first of all provide knowledge to the parent, and after acknowledging the parent, we make it a rule in our school. And in this way, it's build a strong relationship between teachers and the parents. Ask questions and listen. Whenever you ask question to someone, have patience to listen the answer which you have asked. You should not do that. You just ask the question, and before coming the answer, you just ask another question. No, this should not be done. You should ask the question and have the patience that you are listening to him or her. When talking to parents, ask questions not just about your students' study habits, but about their interest also. Listen and absorb the information. Ask follow-up questions. You will be surprised how much you can learn about not only your student but their parents too. Whenever we ask a question from a parent, we should not focus only on the academic of the student. We should also ask questions related to the interest and habit of the students too. These habits and interest put special interest on the child to come to school. And when we get information that this child is good at dancing, someone is good at singing, someone is good in sports, and accordingly we treat them, we give them opportunities that you can do better in these skills too. In that way, we motivate or encourage the student to develop their inner skills too. And we all know that only education is not the aim of a child. They can get their livelihood through different medium also. They can be a good singer, they can be a good dancer, they can be a good sportsman. So we, the teachers, should have eyes on what are the skills. We should ask questions from their parents too. It may happen that in a school, a child may feel shy in sharing whatever his interest is. So in that point, we should discuss with their parents that what are the interest areas of your child. And when we get to know about the interest area, accordingly we can plan what are the ways or what are the different mediums on which or the platforms on which we can put their child. Don't make assumptions. Whenever there happens a situation or a problem, we usually make assumptions that this boy is very naughty, his family background is also like that. This may not happen. Don't make assumption in yourself. Go through the root cause of the problem. No teachers should ever make assumption about a student's home life. Don't assume a student life with two parents or any parent at all. Also, don't assume that English is a... Be mindful of the fact that families come in all shapes, sizes and backgrounds. Always keep one thing in mind, that all students have their different backgrounds, so the parents too have. So we cannot make assumptions on the background of the student without getting into the root. There are some obstacles to parent contact. I have just discussed the effective ways through which we can communicate with the parents, but there are some obstacles too which hinders our communication with the parents, and we have to find out what are the obstacles. Then only we will be able to overcome these obstacles. So, do you do any of the following? If we are doing any of the following, these causes obstacles in connecting and communicating with the parents. First one is apologize for calling a parent about a problem with a child. Do we feel apologize, or we feel sorry, or we don't want to tell the parents that this is the problem with the child? If we feel that this is not good to communicate, or if we feel apologize ourselves, then this creates obstacle in communicating with the parents. First one is avoid talking to parents because you are afraid they will criticize you. Sometimes it may happen that we feel that if we call the parent or we will meet the parent, definitely he will criticize us. So it is the best option not to communicate with the parent. Is this a solution? No. And if we feel that the parent definitely criticize me, then it will create obstacle. We will feel that it's better to leave, not to communicate with the parent. Third one is wait until the problem deteriorates before calling to inform the parent. We say that it usually happens that when a child does a mistake, or when a child is breaking the rules and regulation of a school, we threaten him orally and leave the student that okay, it will be all right in near future. And we do not communicate with the parent that it will not good for the student, and we think that we had already talked to the child and it will be okay, and it may leads to a big problem, and on that situation we will feel very what we can say, it feels like guardian will criticize me that this problem has worsened off and you are telling me now how this, and this feeling obstacle us to communicate with the parent. Fourth one is avoid talking to the administration about problem with parents or student. Sometimes we also feel that not to bring this matter to the administration of the school. It may happen that sometimes a child or the parent did something and we usually keep the matter with ourselves and do not bring this matter to the administration of the school. This also creates a obstacle in communicating with the parents. So we had identified this obstacle, and which will in near future we will try to overcome these obstacles. Then only we will be having a healthy parent-teacher relationship. Why do you think parents might get angry in dealing with teachers? This is a question from you all, and I want answer from you all also. Why do you think parents might get angry in dealing with teachers? What?
They might think that teachers are very rude.
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
The question is very significant here. In this regard, ma'am, I will to tell that there are two aspects of guardian. First is positive and second is negative. And if we handle our guardians, then we should be a counselor also. If we are a good counselor, then we can solve this problem very easily. And a teacher is not only a teacher, but also he is a counselor also. The question here, why do you think parents might get angry in dealing with teachers? I think the real point is expectation. When he takes admission of his child in a school, his expectation becomes very high, and he wants to find a lot of things, expects a lot of things from school. And when it does not fulfill, then he becomes angry. In this regard, I would like to say that when an angry guardian comes a school, it should be handled very patiently. In our school, there are a number of teachers, and it generally happens. But I would like to say that our Manoj sir handles such type of cases very brilliantly, very effectively. And in this regard, I would say that he is a good counselor. And a teacher should be a counselor. I know every aspect of life. I know every loose and tight points of him. After all, we cannot handle as Manoj sir handles. Because his expectation cannot be fulfilled. And as Archana ma'am tells in the whole program, that we should consult our guardians. But there are some guardians, they only search of your faults. They only search your, it means bad things it cannot be said, that what are your lacks? Weaknesses. And you cannot give them complete arguments against them. So, if you handle an angry guardian, then you should be a counselor. And as Archana ma'am said, that first of all you should learn his arguments very patiently. Then you should choose a positive side of his issue. What, sir, your son is very good in running. Once I tried, but I became failed because I could not know this child. If you do not know this child, if you do not take class, then you cannot deal with this guardian. But if you want to keep silent, then you should say very positively, first of all, you should hear patiently. After that, you will answer with a positive way of her issue. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. You explained it nicely. And here I just also want to explain the reasons why parent may get angry. They oftenly get angry just because of the failure of communication, lack of follow through. They don't know any other way to act. And the best way is to act angrily. Assumptions and stereotypes, and they only have part of the story. This point is the main, I can say this is the main culprit of the story. That the parent usually have the knowledge about one side, what their ward is saying to him. He don't know what offense his or her child has done at school. And when the parent came to know about the problem from their child, they get angry. That this is all the mistake of the school. But when he came to school and when he get the whole information or get the whole picture, then all his anger calmed down. Breaking promises, whenever we promises something that I promise you that within 2 months or within 3 months, your child will be able to read very fluently. And if this promise breaks down and his child is not able to speak fluently, then definitely the parent will get angry. Unwilling to apologize or admit mistake, discredit parents' knowledge of child, and consideration, rudeness, these dishonesty, these all are the reasons for getting parents angry. As I had discussed earlier also, that parents belong to different backgrounds, so they act differently while parenting their child. There are 4 types of parenting styles, and according to them, according to the type of style in which they take care of their children, this is enabling parent, second one is authoritative parent, third one is absent parent, and fourth one is rational parent. And we talk about enabling parents. These parents are overprotective in nature, rescues and protects their child in each walk of their life, and they don't let their children to do the things by their own. Second one is authoritative parent. They are bossy, demanding, and parent tell child what to do because they can't think for themselves. The parents think that the child cannot think for himself, and these parents are bossy in nature. They usually tell their child to do this only, and you have to do this only. And on the basis of their parenting style, we have to deal with the parents. We cannot measure all, or we cannot have a one size or one solution for all the parents. So we should act accordingly, according to the parenting style of the parents. My question here is, have you ever been under attack by a parent? What did you do? As rightly said by Pradeep sir, that Manoj sir is the best counselor of this school, because he used to deal with all the problems which is coming to the school, and he calmed down the anger of a parent in such a way that we do not think that this is the same parent who came with a huge anger at the beginning, and whenever after meeting Manoj sir, the parent become calm and cool, and with happy face he goes out. Whenever we are under attack of a parent, we should do these all things, then only. And personally I will meet sir to get more knowledge or the way he counsel with the parents, and these are the also some points through which we can calm down the anger of a parent. That check your self-talk whenever we are talking. As we know that parent is coming with anger and we are returning this, we are responding in the same way, then the parent will be more angry. So we should check ourselves that we should be polite, be patient, be calm, be cool while dealing with the parents. If you made a mistake, admit it and apologize. If a parent is coming with a problem and the problem is concerned to me, I have to admit my mistake. Then only the parent will be cool and calm. Third one is put yourself in the parent's shoes. This does not mean that we should lie down on their legs. It means we should keep ourselves on the place of a parent, that how he is feeling. If the same problem persists with my child, how do I will feel? In placing ourselves on that guardian place, then only we will be able to know what is exactly how he is feeling, and we will get the solution according to it. and affirm the patient intent, and you are trying the best you can. And if a parent is coming with a great anger, you just try to use such statements which calm down the parent. We can say that you are doing the best which you can do for your child. We will also help you to get out of the situation or get out of the problem. Then definitely the parent will be happy. These are some triggering words which provokes the anger of a parent. So while dealing with the parents, we should avoid using these words. We should use caring statement that your child matters. We are equally concerned with the problem of your family or your child. Then definitely the parent will be in happy mood and he will listen to us. So at last, I would like to say that effective communication is as much essential for developing the holistic development of a child. And if we are a concerned teacher, we should oftenly communicate with the parents, with the teachers through different modes which we find that this is suitable for the parents. That's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm here once again to sum up the session and express my vote of thanks. You come to know through the session that communicating with parents is part and parcel of our system. And from this session, we are better informed as to why communication with parents is so important for us. But while communicating with parents, through the session we came to know that we should be a little bit more watchful. We should have some positive approach while going to our parents, and we should be a good listener as well. And as it was said during the session, we should be a good counselor as well. As was said, our best counselor is our principal in charge, Manoj sir. So if we do effectively, we can reap a good harvest out of communicating with our parents. So thank you very much, madam, and thank you all the teachers. I am especially thankful to our principal in charge. And my very special thanks to our SNTC and his team. Yes, organizing 25 sessions in a row with different teachers. It's somewhat you can call very challenging. But you accepted the challenge and made it to a success and provided them materials as well. So thank you very much. Thanks you once again.
Thank you.